Awesome, welcome. It's great to see you all here. My name is Selene. I am product manager at Microsoft. Usually when I think about product managers, I think about navigators, the ones who navigate us through the way and the ones who navigate through us through the roadblocks. But being a product manager can be very different, depending on the size of the company you come from, what service or product you're working on, or who is your customer. There is really no size fits all here. And that's why we have here 3 panelists to share the best practices and their journey, their experiences, and their stories of what it means to be a product manager. Let's give a warm applause to our panelists today. So you're going to hear a panel discussion. It will take us 40 minutes. We will also take audience questions, but this will happen at the end. So just bear with us with a small discussion, prepare your questions, and then at the end we will also give time for you to share what you have in your mind. But before we go on to the discussion, let's hear more about you. So Mart, could you start and please introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, I'm Mart. I'm from Klaus, doing product management there for 2 years now. And before that, I tried to improve the self-service of Telia self-service, also a few years. So in total, I guess I've been product manager now for 5 years.
Hi guys, I'm Shivani. I'm a principal product manager lead at Microsoft in Estonia. I've been in industry for about 22 years across different roles in software engineering and product managers. I've been in this specific position since August last year, but as a product manager for about 7 years.
Hey friends, I am Taago. I am a product manager in Katana Manufacturing Software. I've been in Katana and actually in product management also within the last 3 years. And in that sense, I'm a self-studied product manager and doing things a little bit maybe differently than they would taught us to do. But my background is from manufacturing, so this is where I bring the value to our company, having my background and now learning to be a proper product manager.
Great to have you here. So there's going to be a warm-up question to you guys, okay? So we start from the basics. Question I get the most is, what do you actually do? So Taago, let's start from you. Can you please describe what does product management mean to you and your business?
Mm-hmm. Product management for our business means, of course, that we need to hold together the roadmap, that we are strategically planning how the product will be built within the next set of time, be it a year, be it 3 years. And also throughout the planning, we are researching quite a lot of our customers, doing customer interviews, understanding the current pains they have, and also selling the ideas of new features to our teams.
Quite valuable. Mart, let's move on to you. So what are the key responsibilities of a product manager?
Good question, thanks. I guess it really depends of the company and organization where the product manager works. And if some responsibilities or key roles are missing, then sometimes product manager has to do these other things also. But for me at least, the key responsibility for a product manager is to make sure that whatever you are building is the most important thing at that moment in that phase of the company. So basically ensuring that the product is successful.
And valuable, right? Moving on from here, I think there are also different product roles, and maybe people in the audience also wonder of what it means of having different product roles and what is the difference between them. So Shivani, do you mind explaining us a bit what are those different roles out there and what differs them?
Okay, as a product manager, I think my previous teams often consisted of a few of these roles, and their responsibilities differed. So I think a product manager, a product owner, and a TPM, sometimes a technical program manager or technical product manager, spans in different companies, different people's roles. To me, a product manager, and I think what industry expects now, is a product manager to kind of be a mini CEO of the organization or the CEO of the product, looking at the longevity of the vision, the strategy, what the organization needs to achieve, and very much what you said, the role may differ from company to company, what the actual, the CPO or the PM, him or herself needs to achieve, but strategic, visionary, putting down the roadmap, big blocks. The PO sometimes, the product owner role may differs again. The product owner I see as someone who needs to execute through the life cycle of the actual product, work very closely with the engineering team on the delivery of that specific product, not necessarily the person who needs to put the roadmap together and articulate the whole thing, but definitely sticking to the product. The TPM is the other important role that sometimes gets confused, thinking that he or she needs to be in charge of strategy. I think the technical product manager, he or she may maybe come from an engineering background, may have a lot more technical inclination, enjoys spending time and should be working with an architect and closer with the engineering team, be able to translate the product vision, translate the product vision and the requirements, but again, not the person necessary for putting that vision and roadmap together, helping the engineering team with the execution a lot more, but being a great communicator on what the product needs to do and be. That's my experience on those three roles. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. So the warm-up is done now, okay? Let's deep dive to a question I'm mostly interested in. What makes great product managers stand out from the rest? Maybe Mart, we start from you.
Yeah, another good question. I think the ability to communicate, because product manager usually is the kind of role that doesn't have direct reports. Product managers don't have their own development team that they can fire and hire. So whatever they think up or think that is necessary to build, they have to use their personal skills and communication so that these teams would understand what needs to be built and would actually do that. So the communication, I guess.
Okay, anyone to add?
I'll want to just say that I was saying this to somebody recently. A product manager needs to be really curious, needs to want to ask questions, understand a lot, in my opinion. And I was saying, I think a successful product manager who's willing to go a long way before he or she accepts that they're going to fail. So my question to a product manager is going to be, how long, how far are you willing to continue, to persevere, to be tenacious before you fail? And I think in that comes a lot of the discovery, the exploration, and to me that's what makes a good product manager, someone's willing there to go for the long haul.
Taago, what do you have to add?
In my mind also, great product manager is the one who is engaging, not only communicating, but also engaging the team they're working with, so that everyone is basically aligned, not only motivated, but they know what they need to do.
So we got 3 skills. We got engagement, we got communication, and how far you're willing to go to fail. What else is there?
I think a top product manager has to be really critical, in a sense that the work involves a lot of feedback. You get feedback from customers, from sales, from support, and you can't treat all the feedback as the same, because the one feedback might not be something that is actually valuable for the customers, or it might be something that is nice to have, but you actually don't need to build it. So you need to be able to be critical and need to have the skills to go deeper and understand what's behind the feature requests or things that you hear from your customers.
Anything else?
Yeah, I agree totally with what you're saying. And I also feel as if, they need to be they need to be creative, but at the same time, sometimes it's good that we understand our conscious and unconscious biases. Because as a PM, if I may have been a database specialist one day, I don't want to be subjective to that type of field and already go in as a PM with certain tools in my toolbox. You know, they say if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. I don't want that to be the case. So maybe PMs become aware of some of their conscious and unconscious biases, then it doesn't influence a specific direction, and we're more open to feedback from all the stakeholders we're engaging.
Mm-hmm.
Something else?
And also, one thing I just heard from Shivani about going long way before accepting any fails. Then actually one other aspect to that is also accepting or willing to try and fail quickly.
Exactly.
This is something that is also essential for product manager. So the will to drive forward is despite of the failures, and the trial and error there.
So it's really a long list of different skills you may have, and I would say sometimes it's even difficult to find great product managers around. So my follow-up question to this one is, how do you become one? So if you were to say one skill in what to get better in, then what would you choose? One skill to get better at as a product manager.
I would say for me it's analytics that I would need to get better on, but that doesn't mean that it is the one definition of a good product manager.
Why so?
Because there are several strengths, and I feel that I have many strengths, but data analytics is something that is important for a product manager, and I don't master it as well as I would like to.
Yeah. So some of you also listened to the previous discussion from Kerti, who also said that for product manager, numbers are very critical aspect overall, right? Okay, Shivani, from you, one skill?
I think being a good listener. I think willing to listen and take all types of input, being objective about it as well, and then being able to communicate to different type of things, people. So executives and different type of decision makers and all types of users. I feel as if we can talk about something in a simple way, like the way I'd explain to my mom, being able to translate, who's not in IT is what I mean, if I can translate that information and communicate effectively in trying to explain a product, I think that's a good way to influence.
Thank you. Mart, one skill from you?
I guess being more inspirational, in a sense that when you want the team to commit and build stuff together with you, you really need to kind of explain why we are doing that, and you need to inspire the team. And that is sometimes a bit hard for an introvert Estonian guy. So maybe a little bit more of that inspirational stuff.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for sharing. So let's wrap up this part. I'm now interested in stories. So I'm interested in situations where anything didn't go as planned. So can you please describe a story where you slipped or you faced a difficult challenge, you choose, and how do you overcome this kind of situations? Shivani, do you mind starting?
I think if you worked as long as I did in the industry, you're bound to fail often. But I agree, fail fast, fail forward, learn from it and move on. Key learning for me during failing has been when I've taken on a role, example, a product owner. As a product owner, at that point in time, I was in charge of software engineering, product strategy, support, and running the program. Jack of all trades at that point in time, and that wasn't very doable. I didn't have enough time for the team because I had direct reports, didn't have enough time for strategy because there's too much happening operationally. And when there's lots of fires in production, that's gonna trump any decision you made. So lots of failures there, but lots of learning. And I think from that, what I learned is that a product owner should not be a jack of all trades. I think role clarity, having conversations with your employers, with your teams, having some type of segregation, understanding the roles and responsibility of our engineering managers, engineering teams, and definitely the product managers and the product owners. What do we expect out of them? What are their deliverables, their timeframes, and those type of things? That was a key learning and failure. Jack of all trades.
For me, one failure I remember came from, it was quite in early days of me as a product manager, and it was a confidence thing. So I knew something that didn't come out of the research very well, that we should do things a little bit differently. But the whole team was behind doing it exactly the way as our user research told us, although we left out other parameters of that side of the product. And eventually it turned out that the original way I imagined it to be done was correct. And we struggled with it quite a long time. So that was a confidence thing that I learned from there. If you know something, listen to others, but
go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
All right.
While ago, I tried to create my own startup, like it's proper for all Estonians. And we built a product, and then we built a website where you could sign on to the product and start using it. And what we learned was that not a single customer signed up from the website and started using our product, even with all the online marketing and whatnot. We had the traffic, but nobody signed up. So I guess what the fail was that we could have saved maybe a few years of work and just built the website and measured who is clicking and who wants to actually sign up, instead of building that elaborate product behind it that nobody needs.
So all these kind of things are things that you go through experience. I'm wondering what is out there that I can do without failing and going over the same situations and being successful. So are there any tools or any programs or anything that or any frameworks or anything you have used or you propose others to use, regardless being internally in your company or outside that you could advise or suggest to people here?
I can start. If you're still starting a company and you have like 10 people and 5 engineers and then not a lot of people, then I would suggest to actually keep away from all the frameworks. You don't actually need that process at that point. You're going to need process a bit later when you have more than one team, and then you need to somehow communicate stuff better. But at the first, my recommendation would be to actually just do it, like use post-it notes or some online Kanban board, but don't try to implement Scrum or shape-ups even, or whatever is out there. So keep it simple.
Anything else?
Yeah, one thing, you mentioned that what would be the ways to avoid failing? I would avoid not failing. I would suggest failing for all goals, because you need to have the experience. Only thing you can learn is how to make that fail really quick and understand what are the criteria of measuring whether it was a fail or not. So if you can fail in 2 days, it's perfect. If you can fail in a week, it's also good.
All right, that's a good one. Anything else anyone have in the mind?
Well, Microsoft, we use all Microsoft tools. I liked what Kirti said earlier on. I definitely agree that using the frameworks and the technologies that we talk about and sell, we adopt it as well as Microsoft. At previous organizations, we use similar products so we typically use ADO working with our engineering teams. We have frameworks that are in place that we utilize. Each team is given flexibility to use different type of implementation models, but there too, we are willing to try something, fail, and try again in different, different models. And I think that's what's the important thing.
Thanks for sharing. I'll take the last question before the audience questions, so please start thinking and preparing for any questions you may have. But I want to take the failure part. That's a very good advice to me, by the way. But what are some of the most common mistakes product managers make? And what advice would you give to those in their career?
So I think when we talk to customers and we hear them tell us, I need an integration into Office, Xbox, and SharePoint, and this is the integration I need. And we think, yes, that's it. Let's build a roadmap and let's talk about it and let's go to our engineering teams and let's go and build that platform. And I think the mistake there is listening to our stakeholders about what they need to do and going and delivering it. I think as a PM, we should be willing to understand and ask the why. We should truly understand the why and what needs to happen. The why is not building the integration platform. It is understanding what problems you're facing, what's happening, what's the failure there, what do you need before building the integration platform. That's what I think we should do. So we should really ask the tough questions, sit down with the stakeholders, spend time in understanding the why behind the products. It allows us to scale, it allows us to be more visionary and more impactful. And then 6 months down the line, building that integration and platform wouldn't have been wouldn't have been something we needed to throw away and waste our time because we didn't ask the proper why.
Can I have just a follow-up here, and then we can go back to Mart and Taago. But how do you balance the need between different stakeholders? Because you have the leadership, you have a customer, you have your engineering team. How do you fulfill their whys for all of them?
So for us, it's easy because we've got to add business value. So our customers are all around. So understanding business value to a combination. Our engineering team will definitely want to reduce technical debt, and that's very valuable. That costs a lot of time and money. Our business stakeholders may need to want to get product out there that's profitable to the organization. We've got to measure the turnaround time to actually deliver that there. So again, I think in data-driven decisions, it may sound like a buzzword, it's not. It's collecting the actual numbers to all of these different points and putting it down, and I feel making a valid business decision could be weighed by that. Points from revenue generating, truly time saving, because time is money. So getting some data points out of that is what I would use as a PM to kind of validate my decisions, present it upward before, and also showcase it, right? Communicating it back to people so they understand where the decision point comes from. When you explain where the decision point comes from, you get a lot of buy-in from everybody. The engineers love to understand why this vision came about. They come with you on this journey.
Yeah, you make it sound so simple. Mart and Taago, so the question we had, what are some of the common mistakes product managers do?
I would like to extend what Shivani said here. Of course, the product manager roles are a little bit different, but in the roles of, let's say, direct customer-facing products, then at one aspect, not following the money and not following the value is something that is often made mistake. And other point, just to turn it around, is not concentrating on the long-term sustainability of the revenue. Instead of that, following the quick win after quick win without having the bigger picture. It's one of the big mistake product management can do.
So it's the value proposition that you said, and then the big picture altogether, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, Mart, what else is there?
I guess one thing is when product manager tries to please everyone. I think that even I can be blamed for that. And if you try to please everyone, then you will start adding these new features and stuff to the product, and it gets more and more complex. And at some point you lose that good usability, and it's not very usable for any customer. And you also might it also might drive you away from your product vision and the roadmap that you actually planned. And then you need your developers or engineers to start doing some hacks because some customer asks something, and everything just goes very, very complex, and you kind of distract yourselves instead of doing what you really need to do and what actually matters for some customers that you should be focusing on.
Maybe a follow-up question to you as well. I wonder if you have created a product vision or a roadmap, I wonder how you communicate this across your leadership, your teams, your engineering team, how you make sure that this roadmap is aligned across different stakeholders here.
It works both ways. We as a product team know what are the goals of company, what is the focus of company, what sort of customer segments do we want to hit, and then we align our roadmap based on that, and also based on what is possible in the product and what we can and what we will build in the near future. The leadership and sales teams can make their own plans and visions, so it becomes together sort of like two-way communication, and everybody is more or less.
How do you do that? A Teams meeting, all hands, small team meetings?
A little bit of all. We have like roadmap in our intranet. We have slides, some all hands where leadership talks that what we are doing and why, and also the salespeople do demos, and I guess it's a little bit of everything. Okay. There's like no silver bullet that if you do that, then it will definitely work.
You make my life very difficult. I'd like to have this one silver bullet. Anything else on your mind before we go to audience questions? Is there anything you would like to add on any of the topics?
I would maybe explain also a little bit about how we do the roadmap explanation. So basically, for us nowadays, we have grown quite rapidly in recent year, and it means that product managers really have to collaborate together, and we need to keep focus on the whole product and whole business we have. So that means that there is no point in rushing ahead with one product team and lagging another. And we need to keep that in focus all the time. We are building our common roadmap, and that is where we are doing it in product managers' weekly discussions. We are seeing what is coming out, and also management usually accepts that whatever we propose to them, they may challenge it, but...
To do a great job overall. Yeah. Thank you. Any questions that you have? Microphone is just on the way to you.
Hi, thank you for this discussion. I have a question that's like been in my head for, I think, even a few years now, and maybe it extends a bit out of product management and to the more generic strategy of the company. But how do you kind of prioritize between delivery and discovery? So you're always in a hurry, you need to deliver, but obviously the research is crucial. So any thoughts on that? Thank you.
Anyone who wants to start?
I can start. I would say that the research is always going on in the background. Usually we have like a separate role for that, researcher, and we also have UX designers who do research. And that's sometimes disconnected from the delivery, so that we don't stop researching and discovering while we are building stuff. They don't necessarily need to have a conflict.
I would also maybe add here that yes, you can do it in parallel, but if you cannot do it in parallel, then I wouldn't skip research in any way. You can do it in different ways. You can shorten the time when you do this, but in overall product strategy, you need to keep in mind that researching probably is the cheaper part of building product than actually building it. So better get it right.
There was one question in. There was one question in the middle. Yes.
Hello. So I will give a bit of context, and then a question will come in the end. So at the beginning, you named the most important skills for a successful manager as good communication skills, ready to fail, being curious. That's very nice. So I opened LinkedIn, some random job ad for product manager. I have seen those a lot. It's very similar what I have seen. And there is, bachelor's degree in engineering or computer science or business management or finance as a top one requirement. Then there are also like a lot of experience needed in the specific field and experience with UI and UX design. A lot of those things, which is great. I totally understand why they are needed. So question 2 is, what are the one top thing that you actually write in job ads when you are looking for product manager teammates? And the sub-question, what is one technical skill that you definitely would add in job ad while looking for a product manager?
What an excellent question.
I have to disappoint you in a sense that there isn't a one thing that you can add there. Product management is a set of different things, as you also pointed out. You need this MBA or business knowledge because you need to be able to do business cases and calculate how much that stuff that you're planning to build is worth, and you need to have that sense of design to understand if the thing is beautiful and so on. Yeah.
I have a few job ads out, and I don't have any technical skills listed there. So literally on the technical stuff, I don't have that out on the job ads. For my team, I do have a combination of experience sets, and I have them. I have a caveat. So I said project management experience, engineering experience, program management, or product management experience. I think the experiential part is important for product managers. They have diverse backgrounds. Could be the team or the product that they are going to be building. Could need different flavors. And there's unfortunately no one size fits all. So when evaluating the candidate based on the role or the team they're based on, the person may need to be a people manager in future. They may have to have a lot of EQ type skills. The person may be working in a very technical Microsoft Teams. That person will probably need to have a good technical experience or engineering type experience from previously. If the product is going to be focused on a skill like, let's say, governance or compliance, like in our current area that I work in, the person does not need to have technical skill. They could, but it's not a hard requirement. So to me, a breadth of either software engineering, product, program, project management.
I would also say here that it's actually general in all job ads. So if you feel that ignoring completely the requirements they have there, just reading through what is the job about, feeling critically, am I that person, or do I have the spark in the eyes to become that person, and then go for it.
There was also
as simple as that.
There was also a question about one technical skill that a product manager should have. And if we are talking about software product managers, then I guess the bare minimum would be that you understand how modern web services and web applications work. So you understand what is the front end, why is there a back end, and then there is a database and some APIs. So roughly at least understand how the data flows and understand how this all the machinery works. You don't have to know the details, but at least understand it.
But on the other hand, when you're building manufacturing software, for example, and especially in the early days, for Katana example, then the most required thing for a product manager was a background in manufacturing, because then only you can know what you need to do. Everything else can be taught. So that's totally different roles of product management.
Yes, in some cases, I guess the domain experience is really crucial.
Mm-hmm.
Shivani wanted
In the current interviews that we're doing, one of the interview questions from, not myself, someone from my team is, please explain to me the internet. And we have failed candidates on that question, because what we are testing combination of things, right? Your approach, how quickly you can reply to that answer you take for granted. People's explanation different. Your technical depth will come to the fore. Your storytelling ability, how much from the past present, and future you'll take into the question. But ask yourself that question. What is the internet?
It's the homework. So we had a question here and a question there. Let's start from here.
I wanted to ask about finance and, for example, budget calculation. As a product managers, we always fight uncertainty and trying to reduce unknown things. And sometimes you, not sometimes, you often need to find out about the future to, for example, calculate whether your project will be profitable or not. For example, you have your development team costs, you have other resources, you're trying to estimate your profits, and you need to forecast. And to me personally, it's the most difficult task, especially when we talk about big projects, for example, that will be profitable after 1 year, 2 years. And can you share some best practices or your experience, how you trying to balance this forecasting? I hope I explained myself well. For example, you calculate profit and losses, you calculate cash flow, etc. And
who wants to go?
So,
Yeah.
go for it.
I cannot share any practical like experience from that field, but theoretically I can. As basically, when you need to understand something's profit, then one thing you can do is try to start as small as possible, understand the little part of the project or product you're building, whether this part is profitable in the very beginning, and how do you scale that? Is it scalable in that sense that if I multiply what I did with 100, with 1,000, is it still the same? Or will it start to accumulate much more cost when you scale it and decrease your profit, or vice versa? This is the first thing that came into my mind.
From my side, we've used different type of methodologies based on the different industry with the size of your company. So some of them may be, I don't want to say experience-based from us individuals, but experience-based from different projects. You maybe want to sample or launch a different product that similar products have experienced in the past 2 or 3 years. It could be 2 ways. One, you'll have data points and numbers from your own organization on what your forecasts were, and you'll probably have actuals in that case because someone should have access to their data or forecast versus actuals for that project, to use that as a baseline for actually measuring your profitability. Some people may use industry type of products, their competitors even, if it is public companies, some of those data points may be published, again using those numbers as a baseline for your estimates as your project. Different type of products may even be able to do a sample set, so put something out and use that as a baseline and get a new sample set of information out in a small scale, and then we're going to multiply that.
yeah, that makes sense. And I used those techniques for new products, especially. I'm mostly having difficulties with mature products, existing products. For example, you are defining strategy for your company, and you come to a point when you about or you need to close some of the projects, for example, to put them into maintenance mode. And it's very difficult. Too many variables, in my opinion, too many options, and also the future can be uncertain. Like today, it's windy times, and
It's very complex and difficult to nail it all. So you can later come back to us, and then we can continue discussion. I really want to take your question. We don't have time to go everyone, so first go, first served.
I'll try to be quick. Thank you very much for discussion. And my question is about the common mistakes. So you mentioned that instead of understanding why we are doing something, we are jumping into the solution already. How to understand, or what are your techniques you are using? how to get to this root cause why. Because if you go straight to the customers or stakeholders, they will say, I want the same, and with a few features on top of that. This is not actually, might not be the correct way how to do that. There is five whys approach, but what is your approach? What is, golden rule here or silver bullet here for you?
Who wants to take it?
I usually try to imagine the whole picture. When I have to make the choices, then yes, it's going to be very abstract. But if you work through different aspects, then what is the sum that adds up in the end? Is the sum something that, in my mind, actually working? Or is it something that needs next and next and next and next step in order to start working? Or does it even break something? Mm-hmm. And if you find out that this is something that is valuable, it adds up in this moment, then this is the point where I say go for it.
Thank you. With this, we have come to an end to this discussion. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. There are 4 product managers on the stage who have all those list of skills that was mentioned in the beginning. So please feel free to just come to us and have a discussion going forward. So good luck and thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Shivani, Mart, and Taago for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. And thank you so much, Selene, for a great moderation of this panel.